Bruce Arians, and I mentioned this last hour, probably because I didn't peek ahead on the outline and realize we're covering it coming up, but that's not the first time nor the last that will happen. Bruce Arians talking about Antonio Brown's workload, and I mentioned it again. His pitch count was a little higher than we anticipated. We tried to go 2 minutes early in the ball game to get some life, so his pitch count was up a little bit. He handled it well. He did everything that he needed to do to play well in the game. The guys embraced and they helped him, yada, yada. But the bottom line is he wants it to go down this week. He wants the number to go down. He was third behind Chris Godwin with 47 snaps, Mike Evans with 43. Brown had 39. Scotty Miller's the guy who got the short straw. Scotty Miller only had 19 snaps. And it goes back to that push and pull that I still think is there.
Yeah.
I don't think Bruce Arians ever wanted him. Bruce Arians finally gave in. But Bruce Arians isn't the kind of guy, especially at this age, who's going to let something go. And there may have been some "I told you so" being spoken behind the scenes. And maybe the frustration with having to use Antonio Brown as much as he did, maybe that is what caused Arians to call out Tom Brady in kind of a indirect and also, as you said earlier this week, misguided way, that maybe Mike Evans wasn't as wide open as Bruce Arians is suggesting, but Arians is just maybe irritated with how this has gone. I mean, think about it. They were putting together this beautiful sculpture, and it got smashed by the Saints in one night. And now they're going to go back to the drawing board to a certain extent. They got to figure out how to do it with this expectation that Antonio Brown is going to be on the field and going to have the ball thrown his way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is the risk they took, certainly. And they, within that risk, they, took a shot because of it last week. They got away from what they've done and what made them well. I mean, he could talk about, we tried to get his 2 minute early in the game, but I mean, it started out with Antonio Brown on the field. This was 3 receivers, and you could tell just from the get-go, the plan was, and I don't think it was like a forced Antonio Brown thing. I do think they looked at it, and then they had a matchup against the Saints where they said, this team will play us in some man-to-man, and I don't think they can match up. So I don't think they just did it just so like Tom wanted it and all of that, but I think they got a little infatuated with the thought of it. That would be my take from it more than anything. But, what did it lead to? It led to the offense never getting in rhythm, the offensive line never, establishing any physicality or control of the line of scrimmage at all. And really, in the best games we've seen all year from Tampa Bay, it's been a pretty balanced attack with, not that it always has to be a 100-yard rusher, but somebody flirting with those type of numbers. And then within those, that's when Brady's really struck downfield for big passes, the chunk plays, 30, 40-yard passes. Again, I think what you saw, too, a little bit was the other night was, the Brady and New England offense, and then I think we also saw the Brady and New England type play, where it's like if he's in shotgun, he's just not going to stand in there and wait for some of the more aggressive throws down the field. But what I've seen and what I've been saying on my podcast and things like that, when you keep an extra tight end in and block and do those things, he takes like a deep breath and he lets plays develop down the field, just feeling a little bit better that he's got that 1 or 2 extra guys to protect him, and then he throws strikes. So that, to me, would be the thing I'd go get back to. That's the best Buccaneers team and offense I see when they play that style of football.
They ran the ball 5 times, which was the lowest in any game in the history of the league.
That's amazing,
Chris. Unbelievable. They broke the record. It's not the record you want to break. They broke the record set by the Vikings, who had 6 rushing attempts in a 27-6 loss to the Bills in Josh Allen's rookie year. Just kind of a weird smackdown type of a game. And one of the reasons you abandon the run so early is when you get down so early, there's no point. But the Patriots have only 5 runs, and one of them was a kneel down. So they had only
Bucs,
4 runs for the game. I mean, the Buccaneers. I keep doing that.
A lot of people do.
Because I think Tom Brady still plays for the Patriots.
A lot of people
still do it. Remember earlier this year when the Patriots were getting ready to play the Broncos? I'm thinking, wait, they just played. It was the Buccaneers that had played the Broncos. So I can't get away from it after 20 years. Can't get away from it. Anyway, the Buccaneers had 5 rushing attempts, and the Buccaneers need to establish themselves against the Panthers. They need to avoid falling into that trap, and maybe they need to have Antonio Brown on the sideline more, but that's going to create a problem because, and this is why I didn't like the contract he signed, incentives tied to catches, yards, and touchdowns. If you're not on the field, you're not making that money. And at some point, if you're Antonio Brown, you're going to be pissed.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, when it is about money and it's about you got to play and get numbers and stats and things like that, they're flirting with danger again. They are. There's no doubt about that. But again, I think with Brady's influence with Antonio Brown and the fact that Antonio Brown has to realize he's got to be careful, because if he causes an issue with this football team with what we all perceive as his best football angel on his shoulder friend now, Tom Brady, if he can't make it work there, he will scare off everybody else. So that's the one thing they got going for them, and we'll see where it goes. But, yeah, I don't expect to see him on the field nearly as much this week.
One of the biggest challenges for the rational mind is to predict the reactions of the irrational mind. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We can say that Antonio Brown should react this way, should react that way. Based upon the body of work we've seen from Antonio Brown for the last 2 years, the rational mind cannot accurately predict what he may do if he finds himself neutralized. If he detects, as we detect, that there's a tug of war happening between Tom Brady and Bruce Arians and he's caught in the middle, we can't accurately forecast how that's going to affect his behavior. And he could reach a breaking point far sooner than the rational person would. So That's why this is all something we're talking about and watching very closely, because it could blow really at any time, especially after the ugliness that we saw on Sunday night by the total Buccaneers organization.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.